Have you guys ever been driving somewhere and suddenly seen a car that just smells like money? You know the type. Big SUV, shiny paint, massive wheels. The kind of car where even the door closing sound makes you feel slightly poorer. And instantly your brain goes, man, that guy must be doing really well. I used to think that too. I used to believe. People with expensive cars were smarter than me, richer than me, better with money than me. But until I actually started talking to some of the people making payments on those cars, and what I discovered was honestly disturbing. Some of them barely had savings, lived paycheck to paycheck, right, and were spending half their income on a car payment. That S when I realized something most people never say out loud. A lot of things that look rich are actually just expensive, and society is very good at hiding the difference. Bluffing. People love showing what they bought, but they never show the pressure required to maintain it. And the dangerous part is, when you see enough of it every single day, your brain slowly starts treating it as normal. But honestly, that's only the first layer of the trap. Before we go deeper into this, I need to be honest with you guys. I am not one of those finance gurus online, Lamborghini crypto dudes, or fake millionaires selling courses from a rented Airbnb. I am just a guy who made some really stupid money decisions, and I mean really stupid. Back in 2024, I lost almost 20,000. Gone. Not because my business failed, not because I got robbed, but because I followed a hot insider play from a private investment group. You probably know the type. Whales are buying. This thing is about to explode. Get in before it's too late. Smart money is moving, and like an idiot, I jumped in a few weeks later. The money was completely gone. But honestly, losing the money wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was realizing I thought I was smarter than other people. That experience changed the way I look at money forever. Because after that, I started noticing something strange. Sure. People usually to lose money because they read dumb. They lose money because they want to belong. They want to feel ahead. They want proof. They read doing well in life. And once I understood that, I started paying attention to how people spend, how marketing manipulates emotion, and how modern society turns pressure into desire. That S, when the car industry isn't really selling transportation anymore, us selling identity, but the numbers behind all of this, that S, where things start getting scary. Do you guys know how much people are paying every month for cars right now? And I'm not talking about Ferraris or Lamborghinis. I mean regular cars, normal SUVs, pickup trucks, daily drivers. People are paying $700 a month, $900 a month, sometimes over $2,200 every single month, or for 7 or even 8 years. Think about that for a second. A decision made today can still be draining your bank account nearly a decade later. And here's the craziest part. Most buyers never focus on the total price, only focus on how much is the monthly payment. That right there is one of the biggest psychological traps in modern finance. Dealerships don't sell a 70,000 truck. They sell only $899 a month. And somehow that sounds manageable. Human psychology is weird. A huge number up front scares people, but a smaller monthly number, your brain instantly says, yeah, I can probably make that work. That S. While a lot of people aren't actually buying the car, they rebuying the illusion that they can afford it. And trust me, the finance industry understands human psychology better than most people understand themselves. Honestly, that S still not the biggest trap yet. I used to think if someone can afford that car, they must be making serious money. But the more people I talk to, the more I realize that S often not true at all. A lot of people who look wealthy are actually just stretching loans longer, rolling old debt into new debt, and financing a lifestyle using money they haven't earned yet. That is the part modern society rarely talks about. How's it go? If you wanted something expensive, you had to save first. Now, you can live rich first and deal with the consequences later. That's why you see people with luxury cars, expensive phones, designer clothes, nonstop vacations, while their bank account is basically empty. And social media makes this even worse. Because online, you only see the reward. You never see the payment, you see the truck, You don't see the 84-month loan attached to it. You see the vacation photos. You don't see the credit card debt waiting at home. Oh, and slowly your brain starts comparing your real life to other people S finance lifestyle. That S why so many normal people feel broke now. Not because they refailing, but because they constantly measuring themselves against people who are also financially drowning. And once I understood that, I started asking a different question. If these people aren't actually rich, then what system is allowing all of this to happen? I'm going to tell you something. Most people never realize modern finance does not need you to become wealthy. It only needs you to keep making payments. That's why. Loans keep getting longer, financing gets easier, and every app now has a buy now, pay later button. Because the system understands one dangerous truth about human psychology. People are not addicted to products. They are addicted to immediate gratification. And honestly, that realization hit me hard after losing that 20,000. Because when I look back now, I didn't lose that money because I lacked information. I lost it because I couldn't sit still. I wanted faster results, faster money, faster success. I wanted to feel like I was getting ahead of everyone else. And that emotional urgency, that's exactly what makes people easy to manipulate. The car industry understands this perfectly. They not selling. Engines, wheels, leather seats, they reselling. A future version of yourself, the successful version, a respected version, the version that finally made it. And once emotion enters the conversation, logic quietly leaves the room. That's why people will justify things they would normally call insane. A guy who would never spend we 200 a month on food will somehow convince himself that we 200 for a truck is reasonable. Why? Because emotionally, the truck feels bigger than transportation. It feels like status, progress, identity, validation. But once you start financing your identity with debt, that S when things get dangerous here. S the part people don't realize until it's too late. Costs you. A massive car payment does he just take your money every month. Eventually, it starts controlling your entire life. That might sound dramatic, but think about it. Once someone locks themselves into huge monthly payments, insurance bills, fuel costs, maintenance, interest, they slowly lose flexibility. Suddenly they can quit their job, can slow down, can take risks, can breathe financially. And this is something most financial advice completely ignores. Debt doesn't destroy people overnight. Long-term pressure does. That's the real killer. Waking up every morning knowing bills are coming, payments are due, and one mistake could wreck everything. That pressure changes people. It makes them anxious, short-tempered, emotionally exhausted, and sometimes they don't even realize it's happening. I remember after I lost that 500 million, my brain completely changed. I became obsessed with covering the money, finding the next opportunity, fixing the mistake fast. And honestly, that mindset almost pushed me into even worse decisions because financially desperate people become extremely vulnerable that S when scams work, emotional decisions happen, and people start borrowing against their future just to survive the present. And the scary part is, caution, a lot of people trapped in these payment cycles still keep upgrading their lifestyle anyway. Why? Because the problem was never really about transportation in the first place. This is probably the most important part of the entire conversation. Because at the end of the day, a car is just transportation. As logically speaking, it's just a machine that gets you from point A to point B. But emotionally, it becomes something much bigger. It becomes status, identity, validation, proof that you winning in life, and that's why people will sacrifice almost everything to maintain the image they live in a smaller apartment, eat cheaper food, work extra hours, stay stressed constantly, just to avoid looking behind compared to everyone else. That's the real trap. A fee. People are often more afraid of looking poor than actually becoming poor. And social media poured gasoline on this problem because now you no longer comparing yourself to your neighbors, your coworkers, people in your town. How you comparing yourself to the entire internet. Every day your brain sees a new car delivery, people making easy money online, luxury vacation photos, nonstop displays of success, and slowly, sure, your normal life starts feeling inadequate. That S when people begin buying things emotionally instead of rationally, not because they truly need them, but because they want relief from the feeling that everyone else is moving ahead except me. And the dangerous part, status has no finish line. Once your identity becomes tied to appearances, you always need a bigger purchase to maintain the feeling. A nicer car, a bigger house, a more expensive lifestyle, and eventually your entire financial life becomes performance art for strangers who aren't even thinking about you. I've met people with absolutely beautiful cars, clean paint, luxury interior, big wheels. Everything looks perfect from the outside. But behind the scenes, dodging bills, drowning in credit card debt, living paycheck to paycheck, stressing about gas money by the end of the month. I call this image wealth, looking financially successful without actually being financially stable. And honestly, modern society rewards image wealth more than real wealth because appearance is visible. Peace of mind is tea. I've even seen people driving expensive trucks on weekends while secretly working second jobs just to afford those same trucks. Think about how insane that is. The car becomes both the symbol of success and the reason they can escape financial pressure. And the scariest part? When people live under financial stress long enough, their brain starts treating anxiety as normal. It happened to me after losing that 500 million. For months, my mind was constantly racing. I kept thinking, how do I recover? How do I make it back faster? How do I stop feeling behind? And that emotional state is dangerous. Because once people become financially desperate, they stop making decisions logically. They start making decisions emotionally. That S win. People chase risky investments, max out credit cards, take terrible loans, and double down on mistakes because desperation creates urgency, and urgency destroys patience. But the really painful part of all this isn't even the stress itself. Yes. Here's what most people never actually sit down and calculate. They only look at the monthly payment. They never look at the total life cost. Let's say someone buys a truck. Now add everything together, the loan, the interest, insurance, fuel, maintenance, repairs, depreciation over several years. That one vehicle can quietly consume enough money to buy investment property, a serious business opportunity, or a large investment portfolio. And at the end of it all, what S left? A depreciating machine worth a fraction of what was spent. That S. Why I keep saying, a lot of modern lifestyles are designed to drain cash flow slowly. And this is an information gain most people never hear. A lot of people are not poor because they earn too little. They re-poor because their lifestyle quietly absorbs every dollar that could have built wealth. That S, the scary kind of poverty, the kind that looks successful online, but destroys long-term financial freedom in silence. Stick now. And honestly, that's why so many people feel stuck now. Not because they don't work hard, but because they've unknowingly built a life with extremely high maintenance costs. And once your lifestyle becomes expensive to maintain, you stop building wealth, you start feeding the machine. But believe it or not, there is something even more painful than losing money. After losing that 20,000, I kept replaying one thought in my head over and over again. What if I had just stayed patient? Seriously, what if instead of chasing that hot opportunity, I had simply invested slowly, protected my cash, focused on long-term growth, and stopped trying to get rich quickly? My life today might look completely different. And that S, the part people underestimate about bad financial decisions. Sometimes the biggest loss is to the money itself. It's the opportunities that disappear, the years you lose recovering, the confidence that gets damaged, and the future version of yourself that never gets built. That's what opportunity cost really is. Not just money you could made, but the life you could created. And honestly, that realization changed the way I see expensive lifestyles forever. Because every massive payment is to just a purchase it as also. Future investments not made, future freedom delayed, future peace sacrificed. People think they re-buying luxury. Sometimes they re-accidentally selling their future flexibility. And what's crazy is, most people never notice this happening in real time because the damage feels invisible at first. One payment doesn't ruin you, a fee. One loan doesn't ruin you. One emotional decision doesn't ruin you. But repeated over years, that's how people slowly drift away from financial freedom without even realizing it. But if the math is this obvious, then why do people still stay trapped in the cycle? This is where human psychology gets really strange. Once people invest enough money into a lifestyle, they start defending it emotionally. Even when it's clearly hurting them financially. That's why. People drowning in debt still keep spending, people losing money, keep chasing bigger risks, and stressed out people still try to maintain the appearance of success. That's because human beings hate admitting, I made a mistake. Our brains will do almost anything to protect our ego. So instead of stopping, people rationalize. They say things like, I deserve this. You only live once. It motivates me to work harder. Successful people drive nice cars, but deep down, a lot of them are just trying to avoid the emotional pain of realizing they built a financial trap for themselves. And honestly, I did the exact same thing after losing that 500 million at first. I didn't think I messed up. I thought, I just need one more good play to recover everything. That's how people dig deeper holes, not because they've re-stupid, but because emotionally they can accept the loss. And this is something the finance and marketing industries understand extremely well once someone emotionally attaches their identity to a lifestyle, an investment, a car, type, or an image. Logic becomes almost powerless. That's why some people will defend a terrible financial decision harder than they defend their own future. And honestly, that's exactly what modern marketing is designed to exploit. Never underestimate modern marketing. Huge companies spend billions of dollars studying one thing: how to make human beings buy emotionally. They study colors, music, lighting, wording, social pressure, dopamine triggers, even the timing of notifications on your phone. Everything is engineered to reduce hesitation because hesitation is dangerous for sales, and social media made this problem infinitely worse. Years ago, people mostly compared themselves to family, coworkers, neighbors. Now, you compare your life to millions of people online every single day. That changes human psychology in ways most people don't fully understand yet. Because eventually you stop asking, do I actually need this? And start asking, what does my life look like without this? That's a completely different mental state. And here's an information gain almost nobody talks about. Truly wealthy people usually buy things to use. Financially insecure people often buy things to signal. Small difference, massive long-term consequences. Because once your purchases become emotional signals, you stop thinking like an investor. You start thinking like a performer. And performers always need a bigger stage. That's why lifestyle inflation never ends. More income, bigger spending. Bigger spending, more pressure, less freedom. And eventually, people become trapped inside a lifestyle they secretly can sustain, honestly. One of the biggest financial flexes today is in looking rich. It's having peace of mind while nobody notices. Oh, shit. And that realization completely changed the way I look at money. You know what, funny? After all the money I lost, after all the stress, after all the chasing, my definition of wealth completely changed these days. Peace of mind honestly feels more luxurious than status. Not waking up stressed about payments, not needing to impress strangers, not feeling trapped by your own lifestyle. That feeling is worth more than logos. I think a lot of people secretly know this already. They just scared to slow down because society keeps telling them, if it doesn't look expensive, you falling behind. But that's a lie. Sometimes the guy driving the older car with no debt, savings in the bank, investments growing quietly, and freedom to walk away from toxic situations is actually wealthier than the person driving the brand new luxury truck. Because real wealth isn't always visible. A lot of real wealth looks boring, and honestly, that's probably why most people miss it. One thing I learned after losing that 500 million is that financial maturity is about looking successful. It is about building a life that does constantly exhaust you. A life where one bad month does tea destroy you, one mistake does tea create panic, and your future isn't tea chained to endless payments. So maybe that older car in your driveway is a symbol of failure at all. Maybe it is quietly protecting your freedom, your future, your sleep, and your ability to build real wealth later. And sometimes, growing financially means finally understanding this. Not everything that looks expensive is actually valuable. If you found this video helpful, please hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next lessons from Sub. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Sub always reads and responds to your questions.